Like,
next person who comes is Samuel Stokes, who was an American missionary, who comes to Himachal, not far from Shimla, the Kotgarh Ilaka, leaves the church, marries an Indian girl, goes to jail in the non-cooperation movement, and later plants the first apples in Himachal. So he lays the foundations of what is now a flourishing economy, a multi-million-dollar economy, promotes the education of women, and then late in life converts to Hinduism, because he says to identify truly with the hill people. As a Christian, I'll always be an outsider, and a person of great principle, reflection, and also a wonderful writer. Someone who all my 7 were writers, which attracted me to them, that they had left behind a corpus of work which I could rehabilitate.
So in addition to switching to Hinduism, marrying locally, becoming basically Indian at heart, he was constantly fighting against the British Raj, right?
For the first part of his career, because, he fought against also the system of forced labor. In the hills, if a white man was going for shikar, the villagers had to give him milk and eggs and meat for his provisions. They had to carry his supplies, all free. That was part of how the Raj was run. Absolutely feudal system resembling slavery. And he got it abolished. He started a movement to get it abolished. But he was also a very mystical, spiritual kind of person, seeking bridges between Christianity and Hinduism. Again, someone whose message of interfaith tolerance, that you may subscribe to a particular faith, but that does not mean you hate or have antagonistic relations towards a faith that is not your own. In that sense, he was very Gandhian. In his religious pluralism and tolerance, he was very Gandhian.
Again, a lot to learn today from that. Now, moving on to the 4th person. You see, what I love is that they're so, nobody knew that much about his horticultural path, the apple orchards. We knew he fought, but these were lovely things. And also the fact that he had to go to jail, and that his interfaith, respect a person of another faith. Wonderful to know that, and it's so relevant of that time and today. And sorry, you were going on to the 4th.
Pranay, to be included in this book, you had to either go to jail or be deported. So I had regretfully to exclude people like C.F. Andrews and Sister Nivedita, who, of course, did a great deal for intercultural relations, but I thought I'd restrict myself to true rebels, thoroughgoing rebels. So the 4th is a person pretty well known, Mira Behn, who was Gandhi's adopted daughter. But I think I've tried to shed light on some of the lesser known aspects of her work, particularly her work after Gandhi died in the 1950s, promoting environmental conservation and forest management in the Himalaya, starting an organic farm, criticizing some of Nehru's development policies for being insensitive to the rights of villagers. He was an early critic of the kind of urban industrial bias of India's economic policy and the destructive aspect it had on the social fabric and on the environment. And she also played a role, as I document in my book, a very important role in inspiring and encouraging Attenborough to make his Oscar-winning film. So right till the end, although she went back to Europe, right till the end, she was taking the message of Gandhi as she understood it. She also had a very tragic...
It was so very foresighted to be so involved in the environmental issues at that time, right?
Yes, absolutely. And some of the people who she worked with later were part of the Chipko movement, as was true of another character in the book, Sarala Behn. So let me talk about Sarala Behn, because she's another English woman who goes to the Himalaya, is arrested in the Quit India movement, spends 2 years in jail, and then after coming out of jail in 1946, starts the first women's school in rural Kumar, an extremely patriarchal backward part of India, Uttarakhand, where women never went to school. And she starts this school, and the graduates of that school become some of the leaders of the Chipko movement. She also is an early environmentalist and writes, very important tracts on the importance of harmonizing nature with, human needs and human greed. And absolutely devoted to this country, dies in Kausani 40 years after she goes there. And while she is running the Lakshmi Ashram, nurtures a cadre of younger social workers who carry on her work. I was in Kausani just before the lockdown, and I was inspired by how her legacy carries on. So it's still there.
Amazing. And remind everybody of her Western name.
Her Western name was Catherine Mary Heilman, and then she became Sarala Devi. Mira Behn
Right.
was Madeline Slade and then became Mira Behn.